Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another live stream. And today I have an amazing guest. I have Kristen Jones is here. Hi, Kristen. How are you?
Hi.
So today, Kristen is our guest, and we're going to be talking about cosplay. And Kristen, she's created all kinds of amazing cosplay. And actually, how we met is through Outlander. Like I was doing some research on Outlander, and I had the great fortune of meeting you through Outlander Inspired Costumes on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started just sort of harassing you. But anyways, I've been telling everybody who's been into the live streams about you that you're from the States. I said that you're from Flint, Michigan. I hope you don't mind me saying that.
Nope.
And that so we're kind of in the same neck of the woods. And hopefully you might come up to Toronto Comic Con and we can meet in real life. But this is actually the first time we've met.
It is true.
So thank you so much for taking time out today to come here. So why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself and sort of how you got involved in cosplay?
Gosh, well, I started costuming long before I got into going to conventions and things. I have been making my own costumes since I was a teenager, because I was never satisfied with costumes you could buy. So my mom taught me a little bit of how to hand sew, and I would mess around trying to make my own costumes. And then once I got my first sewing machine, all of a sudden I was capable. I could do things and make more elaborate costumes. That was when I was a teenager. So you're talking almost 30 years ago. And I only started going to costume conventions and things maybe 5 years ago. So pretty new to actual cosplay. I sort of avoid that term. I don't know why I don't use it conversationally, but going to costume conventions and stuff is something new for me. I went to one just to show my costumes off, and I was sort of hooked, not only on showing my costumes, but more importantly, being able to see what other people have created. That's the reason why I go, is to be inspired what everyone else is doing.
Yeah, it's funny. I didn't know what cosplay, like I'd never heard that term either. It's funny. You and I are similar this way. I started out as a teenager making costumes for high school plays, and I would make, when I was even younger, I made stuff for my Barbies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Did you do that?
I didn't do that exact thing, but I did, anything that came sort of, you bought it that way was not good enough for me. I had to change it, especially if it didn't look like what it was supposed to look like, because I was, even as a young kid, I was critical of, this doesn't match the show, or this doesn't look like what I saw in the movie. And then I would find a way to make it so.
Yeah. So, I don't know, this whole cosplay term, I'm not sure what, I think that came out of maybe like Japanime. So,
Yep.
I thought that was the word people use. So here you've
It
told
kind
me
of
that
is
that's,
now. I
yeah.
just sort of a stick in the mud, and I don't convert. I prefer the term costumer.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of dumb nowadays because the word has changed meaning. Cosplay did used to mean kids, as you said, in Japan, that would wear outfits that were inspired by their favorite characters. It was stuff they could wear every day. It wasn't necessarily an elaborate, full-blown costume. It would be like a hoodie or something that would instantly be identified with that show or that character, but they would wear it all the time. That's why it was cosplay. But it's come here and it's evolved, and now it really does mean the same thing as what you and I would call a costumer is a cosplayer. They're really the same thing now. I'm just slow to change and adopt the title. That's all.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it's funny because years ago, I used to love dressing up in costume. I don't know what it is as I've gotten older. I'm less inclined to do so, but I have such mad respect for people who do it, and through the Outlander community, I've met some really amazing people and really talented people. And so, and this is a thing, like, I mean, I think at one time we used to have something called like amateur theater or, community theater. And then the same with cosplay. But a lot of the cosplay I've seen is actually really, really, great quality, like could compete easily with what you would see in the productions. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely. That's the reason why I'm continuing to be inspired and want to go to these conventions, go to bigger ones to see that, because that's absolutely true, is that you have people that are cosplaying that are doing, in a lot of cases, better work than what you see in a production, because the production has, time constraints. They also don't have to worry about things holding up. They'll make 10 or 15 of an item, and if it tears or whatever, they just get the next one, or in any case, it only needs to last for the length of the production, and then it doesn't matter. Whereas we're making these costumes to, to use for years and years and years. So a lot of times our construction techniques are better in some ways because we're making them to last.
Oh yeah, no, I for sure. Like, and one of the things I love, especially in some of the groups like yours, is people take really good close-up shots of the costumes so you can get in and really see all the nitty-gritty details that you might not get to see on the show. They
Right.
may not want to show us. I think actually Outlander, that might be an exception. They've been very good with that
Mm-hmm.
sharing, and which has been, of course, helpful for the cosplayers too.
Yep.
So, and also now tell me about a little bit about your business that you run
Well,
as well.
that I am a leather worker now. That's something that I got into because I needed some leather goods for my costume. Um, Most specifically, this one of my favorite costumes from Outlander is at the end of season 2. It's from an episode called The Hail Mary. And with that outfit, she wears a leather shoulder bag that she carries her apothecary items in. And I loved that thing as soon as I saw it. And I thought, there's no reason why I can't learn to do this. I can do everything else that I set my mind to. Why can't I work leather? So I bought some leather and I got a few tips from people and made my own. And once I did, I mean, it took a couple of tries to get it right, but once I did and showed it to a few people, they said, well, why don't you make those and sell them? And this was a thing that previously I resisted, the idea of selling things, just because when I make something, it's an artistic creation. And if I have to reproduce it over and over and over again for business, and when I've done that in the past, it really killed the excitement for me. So I would stay away from it.
Yeah.
I always would resist that idea. But in this case, I listened to, well, it was Jennifer who suggested to me I should sell them on the group and tried it. And I had several people that were interested. So that's how I got started in doing that. Between the Outlander costuming and also I costume as Rey from Star Wars, and got into making some of the leather goods for her character, selling them on my Rey group. And that's where that business came.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and we're going to show some of those pictures in a moment as well. So and we're also will show some of your your work that you've done. And I know you've I think you started doing Sporrans now.
It's true.
Plus,
I added
plus
that.
some of your pictures.
That grew out of a suggestion. I met someone on the Outlander group who visits the set of Outlander fairly frequently and has met the principal actors several times. This person bought one of my satchels from me that I was just telling you about. And they said, I see Kate and Sam on occasion, and if you wanted to make them a gift, I would make sure they got it. So
That's amazing.
So I looked at pictures from season 2 and 3 and noticed that Sam had this distinctive sporran always on his belt. I copied it, made a copy of it, and sent that to him for a Christmas gift. And I sent Kate Bell one of my satchels, sent that to her for a gift. And so that's where the sporrans came from, because I had the pattern that I made up to copy Sam's.
Mm-hmm.
And then instead of keeping that same exact design, I changed it a little for the ones I now offer, just so it's not infringing, but it's a basic sporran. But it can be customized. If someone wants a different color or a different lacing pattern, different details stamped in it, they can have whatever they want.
Yeah, and then on the belt, and when we get to the belts as well, you do so what is that tooling? What do you call that sort of technique you do? Like,
I have it right here so I can show you.
Yeah. Do a little show and tell here.
It will show. You can sort of see I've got some lettering scribed into the belt there.
Yep.
That is done with a tool that really isn't meant for that. It was I got a collection of leatherworking tools from a friend of mine, and that particular tool is for doing some sort of carving or shading that I don't know how to do yet. But I discovered that I could take it and hold it like a calligraphy pen, and I could wet the leather and dig it in, and it would make this really nice calligraphic lettering. So that's where that idea came from. Technically, it's tooling.
Yeah, and now one thing I was always curious about, I just sort of discovered this. When you're calling it vegan leather, like, does that just mean it's not from an animal? Sorry,
no, legend of leather. It's veg tanned leather.
Oh, veg tanned. Okay, so what does that mean?
It means when they take the raw hide and they tan it, which is how they sort of finish it. So if you take a hide from an animal and just let it dry in the air, it gets really hard like a dog's bone. That's
okay.
That's what true rawhide is. Well, in order to stop that, they use vegetable oils and chemicals to tan the leather, soften it, and give it a smooth surface. And there's different types of leather you can get. There's chrome tan and there's veg tan. Veg tan is natural. It uses vegetable oils to do the tanning, whereas chrome tan is artificial chemicals. And
Yeah.
for the veg tan, it's natural and it's easier to work with.
Yeah, and like 'cause some of those, I know those chemically tanned ones are very, it's toxic and
you also,
yeah.
it's harder to dye them. It's harder to change
Sure.
colors if you want to because of that. So yeah, I just almost always I'm buying leather in the veg tan state so that it's just a kind of blank slate and I can dye it however I like.
So now at home, like, do you have a workshop? Whereabouts are you doing all this?
Yeah, I do. I live in a Victorian house, so it's got a nice big roomy basement, and part of that is my husband's airbrushing workshop. The other half is my workshop. So I've got a bench, and I've got all my tools laid out. I've got a separate table to do dyeing and stuff. So it's all in the basement.
Mm-hmm. And then what about your sewing? Now, we were mentioning earlier, you were mentioning to me earlier that you have this machine that I have. I just got this machine for Christmas from my husband.
Mm-hmm.
And so have you just got it?
I did. I bought it with my tax refund about a week ago.
Oh, good for you.
I have tested it with a couple things, including I took 3 layers of that belt leather that my belt is laid out of and stacked all 3 on top of each other and stitched right through it with that thing like it was nothing.
Yes. Now, but you must use a special needle for that.
I used the heavy needles that came with it.
Yeah.
Because I bought I can't tell exactly which model you have. I have the 4452.
I'm not sure. It says heavy duty.
Yeah, they're all basically the same. The only difference between the different models is like the one that I got came with different feet and it came with some extra heavy duty needles. But other than that, the machine itself is the same as yours.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. I haven't done a lot of sewing on it so far, but I want to, one of the things I was going to talk to you about maybe in the future, I want to try to make a Viking kirtle. Okay. I've sort of been really into Vikings, and I found a really cool pattern, like just, how the way it's very simple. And then I was thinking of trying to make it and then do all the finishing work because I've been doing some embroidery as well. So I thought that would be a fun project to do.
I love that there's Outlander Tartan in that right now too. I
know. So yeah, I've got the company who makes, I can't even point at it. Sorry. The company who makes it's reverse. The company who makes the Outlander Tartan, they sent me samples. Wasn't that sweet? Huh. So they sent me 5 samples that are designed by Gordon Kirkbright, sorry. And who's the original designer of the Outlander Tartan. And so they're the official company. I should have brought the brochure down with me. They sent me the brochure. So they do brooches and they do all kinds of Outlander inspired items. Maybe I'll do is I'll put a link in the description below. And then I know you've come up with, some alternatives to using the actual, the licensed Outlander Tartan.
Is that Gordon designed 5 of them.
Yeah.
Celtic Croft has only licensed out 3 of his designs. They have the Outlander, they have the Mackenzie, and they have the Fraser. The rest of the ones he designed, they don't have a license for, so they don't offer those. I have actually made friends with Gordon myself, and he produces the other ones that he designed. So.
Yes. Yeah. Sorry. When I said 5, sorry, they do 3 wool and then like hop sack wool. And then they do 2 like poly blend, I think, which is like just a cheaper version of it.
They also have 2 other tartan designs that they did initially, but they have not rewoven those anymore. One was called Craig Nadoon and the other one was called Cocknum and Rock. They had the license for both of those, but they only produced 1 run of them. And I guess they didn't get enough demand for them. So they decided not to reweave. So those tartans aren't available from them anymore.
Yeah. So why don't we actually, speaking of the tartans and everything, why don't we just start going through some of your pictures and then we can you can have a look at it.
Sure.
I'm just going to see what everyone's saying in the chat. We're sort of ignoring them. Hold on a moment.
Sorry.
Oh my gosh. To see what everyone's saying here. Hi guys. Okay. So so Cindy asked the question. We were just talking about this. So Kristen, how did you fringe your Arisaid? We just talked about that.
Yeah. I can go ahead and answer that. It's very simple. when you buy your tartan, before you've washed it or anything, you're going to just take the ends, just where all 4 ends of the tartan, and you just grab a few threads at a time, maybe 2 at a time, and you just pull them, separate them out from the tartan, and just pull them all the way down the length, and then grab a few more, and just keep doing that until you've frayed down maybe an inch, whatever looks good. Do that all the way around, and then once that's done, then you wash it. And when you wash the tartan, the threads that are left loose sort of lock together and felt a little bit. So then it sort of locks the tartan, and that way it won't fray any more than that, and it gives it a really nice rustic look on the edge.
Yeah, and that's the thing, like, one of the things that, you know, compared to when you buy sort of, more contemporary tartans is the Outlander tartans have more of that rustic, you know, they're just sort of washed and dried. They're not actually, like, they have a bit of, like, what, crinkliness to them, a little bit of, you know,
Also, some of what it is that when they made the tartans for use on the show, they did not send those tartans through the finishing process. They used it in what's called loom state, which is very raw. It looks great for the show and for the look of what you would want to do. But when you purchase your tartans, they don't come that way. They come finished. They're very nice and polished. I just don't like that, so I have to beat them up again. And so that's what I do is when I'm wearing some right now. And you won't.
Oh yeah, now we were going to talk about, you're actually in your one of your costumes.
You can sort of see the texture of it is quite rough because I've washed it a couple of times. Now I will say, as a testament to the quality of this tartan, that I washed it in my washing machine and I dried it in my dryer, and it did not. It didn't twist. My God. It didn't do, I put it next to an unwashed sample and they were identical as far as the pattern. Didn't shift, it didn't twist, and it did not shrink. The maker of the tartan had a heart attack that I did that to his fabric, but it survived and it gave the rough texture that I was looking for. So that's why I did that. Also, sometimes what's done is you can wash it in a wash machine with powdered dishwashing detergent. That's a tip I picked up from someone else in the industry for taking the newness out of clothing.
That makes sense. So it would sort of like dull the color a little bit, or give it a little bit more of a rough texture, or what?
Dulls the color a little bit. It does, and it also takes any of the starches or finishing chemicals that are in it to smooth the fabric. Takes those out. So you know, this texture that I have now is like a really it's what you would expect it to look like if you were bouncing around in the heather for a week or on horseback. It's not beaten up, but it has a nice woolly texture to it. I love.
Yeah. So what we're going to do here, guys, is I'm going to switch over to, sorry, I've got on this slide here. We're going to switch to one of your Arisaids here. So do you want people to tell everybody what, you know, I know what an Arisaid is because you've told me. Do you want to tell everybody what an Arisaid is?
Sure. So what you see here, called an Arisaid, is basically what women would wear in lieu of a jacket. They didn't really have like a winter coat or anything in the Highlands back then. I'm wearing a bodice here, and that's typical wear, but it's not warm enough sometimes. So it's a length of plaid that's wrapped around you. It's about 4 yards long, and typically would be probably the width of, well, what a vintage loom would produce was about 3 feet wide. There are wider looms available now, but back in the 18th century, about 33 to 36 inches is as wide as it would produce. So about a yard wide, about 4 yards long. And then it's just been wrapped around me and belted to keep it in place. It keeps the upper part of your body warm.
Yeah, and then we have a tutorial. We have a tutorial on the channel of you actually demonstrating how to put it on and everything. So that's really cool. And I'm not sure if I put that in the description, but I will. Poor Kristen. I was like, Kristen, can I get you to do a tutorial for me? And to her horror, she's like, okay.
I was totally sick at the time, and I sounded like I was holding my nose the whole time, but apparently people found it informational anyway, so that's good.
Yeah, I thought it was awesome, and I have to get you to do more of that for us. So this is, what tartan is this that you're wearing here? That
one, I'm actually sort of embarrassed to say, that was my very first Arisaid. That's not even real tartan. I bought that at Joann. It's flannel.
Okay.
It is woven, believe it or not, but it's cotton, not wool. And it was the closest thing I could find to Cockman Rock at the time because I couldn't find that tartan. That was the closest thing I could find. I did since find the actual screen-used fabric after much searching, but that was the first thing I could find, and it worked quite well for what it was.
So for people who don't know what screen accurate or screen print means, do you want to explain that to people?
Yeah, well, I mean, basically what it comes down to is using what they actually used on the show. That's what screen accurate means. So you either are making your costume and trying to find the fabrics they used, or if the actual fabrics are still available, you go after them. And in this costume I'm wearing here, I've changed a couple of things. I'm wearing a brown skirt and a blue bodice, so it's not 100% representation of that costume from the Hail Mary. It's basically just taking the look, changing the colors. The fabric that I wanted for that Arisaid, which I couldn't find, is this. It looks very similar, but this that I'm holding up is the actual real tartan that they used in the show.
Yeah. Oh, okay, sorry. Cindy, I think she wanted, I was like, Cindy, she wanted a clarification. I think I'd asked you the same thing. She wanted to know if you did a stitch on the, when you were doing the fringing.
Oh, no, a stay stitch isn't necessary.
Yeah.
You could, if if you were really worried, you could. It certainly wouldn't hurt. But, this fabric here is frayed on the ends, as close as I can. So you can see there's no stay stitch. But I've washed this 4 times since I did it and worn it several times, and it has not frayed beyond the point that I frayed it. So it's not necessary if you don't want to. You can leave it. There it goes. That's
yeah. Here's the other one here.
That's this black Arisaid on me.
So no, so this one here, this is actually wool then.
Yes, that is 100% merino wool. That Arisaid is, and also the skirt that I'm wearing is wool, and the bodice I'm wearing is also wool.
Yeah, and so, and sorry, the skirt here, is that from season 2? You'll have to explain. You'll have to tell me.
The exact tartan from the Hail Mary. That's called Honor and Redemption. Yeah.
So, and everyone, if in case you don't know what we're talking about Outlander here. So I was just thinking I never mentioned that, so I should explain that. We are going to look at some of Kristen's other costumes, but at the moment we're talking about Outlander. I can't do a Scottish accent to save my life, so I won't try to do that. Okay, and then here's another one. This is your work, and this is your work, right?
Yes, I was at work there. I was wearing, the only thing I'm not wearing, or that I'm wearing there that is not 18th century, is the top. It's just it's a green sweater that I had. I didn't wear my stays or a bodice to work. I did wear the skirt and the Arisaid. I have found a way to incorporate some of these clothes into my everyday wear, just kind of not wearing the corset, not wearing the bodice and all of the underpinnings, just throwing the skirt on with a modern sweater. And I wore that Arisaid because it was quite cold. And I wondered what people would think. That's this army surplus store that I work in. And I thought they might think it was weird, but it didn't. People loved it, and they commented on it all day.
Yeah. Now, are you also wearing, like, I know you have period correct footwear. Do you wear those to work too, or do you just wear your regular footwear?
It's usually, yeah. And all they are is a pair of suede leather rough out boots. They're low. They're very low, maybe ankle height. And they were the closest thing I could find that matched some pictures I found of Kate Balfe when she was on horseback, and her skirts were up so you could see her boots, and they were just little brown suede boots that pull on.
And do you get those from American Duchess? Is that where you got them?
I do have a pair from there. Those are lace-up ones. The ones I have from American Duchess are the Hartfield boots, and they're brown leather with a real pointy toe, and they lace up. And I do sometimes wear those with it as well. But mostly I see Claire wearing pull-on boots. And so I had a pair in my closet, actually, that looked maybe 80% right. The only difference is mine have a side zipper, which fortunately is hidden by the skirts. You don't really see it. But until I find a better pair, they work well.
So where did you get the boots from then, the other ones?
I bought those at a Salvation Army probably 10 years ago. And I think I maybe wore them once before that because they didn't look right with the jeans the way I wanted. I threw them in my closet. And then after watching Outlander, I thought, that looks like the toe of those boots I got. I pulled them out and put them on, and they're my preferred boots from now on to wear with this.
Okay, so here's another one of you. This is in your home, right? Because you said you live in a Victorian home.
Yep, that's upstairs in my hallway.
I love it. So what tartan is this one? Have we seen this one yet?
Weathered Fraser, and this has the distinction of being real world Fraser tartan, not the one that they sort of invented for the show. It's the real Fraser tartan, but the tartan weaver used the Outlander colors of yarn to weave this, so it's weathered. It's not the bright red and the bright grays of real Fraser. Instead, it's weathered. You can see it. It's the same exact colors they use for the Outlander tartan, only done in a real Fraser pattern. And it's worn over a green wool pelisse that I made, which is a long walking gown that I wear in the winter all the time. I just belted the Arisaid over it.
I think I have a picture of you in the pelisse coming up, just alone. Okay. Oh, this is my ultimate favorite. I love this.
That is weathered black watch, is what that tartan is. This is not one that I got from the weaver from the show. This is a widely available tartan, but the weathered one is not as easy to find. Regular black watch is very common. You see it. It's probably the second most recognizable tartan you'll ever see. A lot of school uniforms use it for their skirts for the girls. It's black and blue and green. This is that same pattern. It's just weathered colors, which I love. And this came out of a project that I did for a company called Got Kilt that exists here in Michigan. They go to Ren fairs and sell tartan and kilts. And I saw this fabric hanging in their shop and inquired about it. And at the same time, I was wearing my Claire outfit. And the owner of the shop was digging on my skirt. He loved it and asked if I would make a skirt for his girlfriend out of one of his tartans. And in exchange, he would give me free tartan. So I was...
Oh, that's a nice deal.
Yeah. So he sent me 12 yards. I made the skirt for her, and I had several yards left over. So I made this skirt and Arisaid for myself.
So how much how much yardage do you think you had to do here?
That skirt is 6 yards, and the Arisaid is 4 yards.
Yeah. So
that's 10 yards total.
And you usually hand gather. I think I saw that you just hand gather, not hand gather, but you don't use a pattern for your skirts. You just manually gather them. Is that right?
An 18th century skirt is very easy to make because all it is 2 large rectangular panels of equal size. So in this case, it's a 6-yard skirt. So there are 2 panels that are 3 yards long, and then you basically just stitch them like a big tube. And then I'll finish the bottom. I'll give it a straight hem first because you see the bottom and you want that tartan edge to be straight. You don't want it to be crooked. And you have to keep in mind when you're wearing underpinnings that your back needs to be longer than the front because of your bum roll and everything. So if I waited and did the hem at the end, it would be an uneven hem because it would need to be longer in the back. And you would notice that with the pattern. So I start by hemming the bottom all the way around. And then to get my height, I take the top of it, fold it to the inside, and adjust it to the length that it needs to be, and then just stitch it. And I leave that excess fabric on the inside. It helps give more fullness to the skirt.
No, there's a comment here from Chrissy of Old Stones. This is funny because we were talking about this. She says, I'm imagining all the cute outfits with an Arisaid, like with jeans and knee-high boots.
It is so true.
Do we have, and we just happen to have a picture of you. This is so perfect. How did that work out, eh?
Now, this particular one, I didn't wear an Arisaid in this picture. I made this out of some scraps of that same fabric. But I have worn an Arisaid with this exact same outfit before, and it does look super duper cute. It's a similar look to a poncho, an Arisaid is when you've wrapped it on you. And it gets lots of comments when I'm wearing it out. People look at it and they just sort of stare at it and wonder, like, what is this garment you're wearing? They're fascinated by it.
Yeah, and what? Okay, I love the socks. Are they Scottish socks or what are those?
They are. Those are woolen hosiery. Yeah, they will. If I pulled them up all the way, they go up.
I think they're called hose. Are they not? Like in Scotland?
Yeah, and they are the same kind as what I buy those at Ren fairs, and you can find them also at places that sell reenacting goods. They're cotton or wool stockings. That particular pair is wool, and that's what I wear under my Outlander outfits too. I have proper garters that I tie around the tops so they don't fall down. But when I'm wearing them with jeans, they don't fall down. They stay.
Yeah. And everyone loves your belt. Like I'm getting lots of comments about how they love your belt. Cindy says, I bought tartan and I have waited almost a month to find out how to fringe it. I'm so excited. Kristen made me a belt that, or maybe she means make me. Kristen, make me a belt that is beautiful. Well, you guys can order them.
Let me go see. I think Cindy Cox. Yes, I did. It says without fear on it. I did make that belt. Yeah.
Oh, yes, yes. But so if she wants a belt, she can get one from you, right?
She already did, actually. I made one for Cindy.
Oh, you made one for her. Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
It's in my Outlander Inspired costumes group, and she commissioned me to make her belt, and she wanted a custom slogan. She wanted to say without fear. So I probably couldn't access it here because it's on my work computer, but I have
she's saying here, she's saying it says without fear.
I have a picture of that belt, and actually that's one of my favorite belts that I made because the color turned out so good. I loved it.
Now, also, the girls want to know, and Aaron wants to know where you got the boots from.
Yeah, we were talking about that.
They're not really a costume.
My preferred pair of boots that I wear, as I say, are not the these boots. He's talking about the thigh high boots.
The thigh high boots. Everyone wants to know those boots.
I found them, bought a pair, and I bought the brown pair. And when they showed up, I loved them so much that I went back and found that they made it in 3 other colors, and I bought all 3. So I have them in brown, I have them in like a stone color, and I have them in a beautiful emerald green. And I wear those boots constantly.
Oh my God, the green must be amazing.
It really is. They are so adorable. And they have they don't have a huge heel. They have about maybe an inch and a half kind of a cube heel. Really cute.
Yeah. And so we're going to move on here. Now, this one is good because, okay, so here's one of your apothecary bags. And actually, we can see your shoe or your boot here.
That's a different pair of boots. Yes, that pair is yet another pair that I just happen to have on that day. But yep, that's my apothecary bag there. That is one that I replicated from the show. And it's as close as it could be without me actually having the bag there. I sort of eyeballed it. And I even went so far as to take pictures of her wearing it in the show and use a technique to try to scale it based on known sizes of things that were in the picture to try to get it the right size.
Yeah. And so, and I've seen side-by-side comparisons, and it's very close what you've come up with here. Kristen, you still there?
Yes, I am.
Oh, and then, and so tell the story you were telling me earlier about how you ended up making a bag for actor Katrina Balfe. Is it Balfe or Bafe? Bafe.
It's Katrina Balfe.
Balfe. Okay.
Yep, I did. I started making my bag for myself. And then once my friend Jennifer Begley said, you should sell these on the group because people will like them. And I listened to her. I sold a few. And one of the people that I sold them to happens to visit set on occasion. She lives in Scotland and has occasion to visit set and has met the principal actors many times. And she said, if you want to make gifts for them, I'll deliver them for you. And I thought, this is an opportunity of a lifetime because I'm probably never going to be able to meet Kate Balfe or Sam Heughan. I would love to, but it's probably not going to happen. So the next best thing in my mind is for them to have something that I made that's in their hands and I know that they own it. It's like almost like I've met them. So I made one of these bags and I made a Sporran, a replica of
Jamie Sporran. Yeah.
2 and 3. Made replicas of both of those and sent them over to Scotland, and they were delivered. I do know that Sam got his for sure because my sneaky friend printed out a picture of me in my Claire costume and presented it to Sam, and he signed it and sent it back to me.
Aw, that's so amazing. I think I've seen that. I think you've put that up on social media.
That was pretty cool. Now, I don't believe Kate has got her bag yet, only because the timing just didn't work out.
Sure.
Friend went to set. She had already gone on Christmas break. And they just haven't met up with her yet, but it will happen. Sooner or later, she'll get it.
That's awesome. Okay, so we're going to move along here. We actually got so many pictures to show of you. Here's another Arisaid. Do you want to, should I, I was thinking of maybe we could move forward a little bit. I love this picture of you. Move forward a bit to some of the, the actual costume.
Yep.
Now, I've got a back view here. Do you want to talk a little bit about this?
Yes, this is This is a bodice that's typical of the ones that I wear. And this particular one was made with a new pattern that just came out from McCall's. It's McCall's M7735. It's an Outlander licensed pattern kit that has a bodice and a skirt. And I didn't use the skirt pattern because I don't need it. But the bodice pattern is dead on. The seam placement just right for how we see them on the show. And also the sizing is perfect. I took this pattern, looked at my size on the chart, just cut it out to that and sewed it together, and it fit perfectly.
Yeah, and the one thing I found about this particular pattern is one thing I noticed Terry Dresbach, who's the designer on Outlander, when she finds sort of a shape she likes, she sort of repeats it. So she'll do this for a couple of different jackets, and then she might come up with another shape and do that. So you're able to do like probably at least 2 or 3 of her jackets, I would think.
I did. I've made 7 bodices from this pattern. Mm-hmm.
Now, do you have a sewing workroom in your in the basement as well with your other work area?
Ironically, I do. I have a sewing area down there, and I don't ever use it. Instead, I use my dining room table, which I shouldn't do.
Yeah, because you need a big cutting surface, right?
Now, this pattern that we're looking at here, the bodice that I'm wearing was made from that pattern too. And sometimes I'll vary things. There is an outfit she wears in season 1 episode called The Search. It's a gray blue bodice with lace on sleeves, which is so cute. Yeah. And the pattern of the bodice is exactly the same. The only difference is you don't set the sleeves. Instead, you finish the armholes, and then I hand work some eyelets and just used cord and lace the sleeves on.
Yeah, and then well, one thing I like about too is the detachable sleeves, is that you can, I think the idea for me, I would think, is then you could change the look of the outfit. You can, wear a different sleeve with a different outfit. I noticed she does that at one point. She's wearing like these knit ones, like that might be made by Sandra Bean.
Yes, they were.
I'm talking about, and then she has a matching sort of like fichu with it, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So it's sort of fun. Then you can like, oh, maybe I'll switch these sleeves. I'll put I feel like wearing different sleeves today. And then
we've seen that in a little bit of season 3 too, when we got to see Jenny Murray again. She was wearing an old bodice that we'd seen from season 1, but she had different sleeves laced on it. So that is something that was done.
Yeah, just because you're not going to be able to own a lot of and I know that in Outlander that Terry tried to create a wardrobe for Claire and not I think I did a count. You might have seen my video. I did a count. She had quite a few pieces, but still she tried to change it up with a fichu or with a shawl or and you've had some of the, I don't know, we'll hopefully see some of the here's a cowl here.
Yep.
So here's an example of what she would do. She would add like little mitts, or she would add a cowl. So is this the outfit you're wearing right now, but without the cowl?
Sort of, yes. That is meant to be the same outfit, although the only item that's there now that I'm actually wearing still is the stomacher. That stomacher that I'm wearing is the exact same one, but the bodice is new. And in fact, the skirt that I've made is new as well. That was my 2nd draft of this outfit. I'm now wearing my 3rd draft. I've changed things. The cut of the bodice is different, and I wasn't happy with it. I didn't like the lacing covering up the stomacher, so I deleted that. And I'm not wearing the cowl only because I'm indoors and it'd be quite hot. But I do generally, when it's cool, I will wear that.
Yeah, and you're in Michigan, so you probably get to wear that quite a bit.
True.
Because I'm in Ontario, Canada, so we have similar winters. It's pretty cold. And now tell me about the knits. Did you get those? Okay. I know you have a pretty good relationship with Sandra Bean.
I do.
And she, you might be able to tell this better, but she was the knitter, sort of the official knitter on Outlander.
She did. She did the knitwear for Outlander. And that was, I don't even remember how I found her. Someone joined our group, and they mentioned that Sandra had worked on the show. And I was super excited because, for me, like, I can make my costumes to the best of my ability, but I'm not a pro seamstress by any stretch. So I need some other sort of edge. And to me, my edge is I have authentic fabrics, or I have something like that. So in this case, I had the opportunity to buy knitwear that's made by the hands that made them for the show. And to me, you can't get any more authentic than that. So I was all in once I found Sandra Bean.
Yeah, and she uses the same materials too, and the same, pretty much the same colors, the same materials. And what kind of wool is this?
That
Yeah.
oh, let's see. I don't know.
Yeah.
That particular thing I don't know, because she sort of keeps some of those things close to the chest because she doesn't want anyone else
Yeah.
having that. You know, she'll pick a certain blend of yarn and she doesn't necessarily want that out there.
Yeah, I
So
don't blame her.
tell me that.
Now, like one of the things, I try to approach her, but one of the things that had happened when I was doing my video is one of the issues I think that happens with a lot of these people who work on production is that they have to sign like, non-disclosure.
Yep.
And so, but is she currently working on the show now?
I don't know. Honestly, we haven't discussed that. So I don't know
Yeah.
if it is or not. I do know that, that what she does offer are inspired pieces and they're custom orders. So it's not, so that way she's not violating any agreements that she's made. But as far as currently working with the production, I don't know. That we haven't talked about.
Yeah. So, anyway, so if anybody is interested in coming to the Outlander Inspired Costumes Facebook group, what I can do, I haven't put it yet, but maybe I can add a link in the description. It will, there are, I think, a few questions that you're asked. I think you have to have some kind of stuff on your Facebook. Now, I kind of just sort of begged my way in. I didn't actually, because I'm not a cosplayer, but I just sort of was like, "Hi, Jennifer," and sort of sent her a lovely note, and then she let me come in. So
mostly what we're looking for is, some sort of indication that the person applying, first of all, loves Outlander. Otherwise, why would they come? That they have some affinity for Outlander. You don't have to be a pro costumer. You don't have to even have a costume to be in the group. That's not really what it's about. It's really that you have a love for Outlander and, and costuming in general, and then just come on in and get to work. Now, that is the exact outfit I'm wearing right now. That's
okay. So now, so let me so this one, so you've removed the laces. So how do you fasten the stomacher then if you don't have the laces?
Well, there is one difference between what I'm wearing now and what I'm wearing in that picture. In that picture, I cheated and I have Velcro holding it closed.
Sure.
I hadn't thought of something better. I tried pins and they didn't hold reliably, even though that's how it was done.
Yeah.
Back then, it pinned. But
so for anybody who doesn't know, maybe you can explain how that all worked.
Right. So, I mean, if I were getting dressed in the 18th century, before I put the bodice on, I've got my stays on underneath that. And my lady's maid, or myself, if I didn't have one, would pin that stomacher right to my stays.
Yeah. And for people who don't know where stays are,
yeah, they're basically the pre-runner to a corset.
Yeah.
A corset gives you sort of an hourglass figure. The stays don't do that. They give you a conical figure instead, where they basically are trying to flatten your chest as much as possible and then slim your waist down, so that when you combine the slim waist and the voluminous skirts, it makes your waistline look really small, which was very much in vogue then.
Mm-hmm.
So you're wearing stays, which are basically a corset. They're made of canvas and they have some boning in them, but it fits basically like a corset. So how people understand a corset, stays are essentially that. And then that stomacher is a triangular shaped piece of fabric that's sewn to some backing, and then it's pinned right to the front of my stays. So it's basically covering the stays up. Then you put the bodice on like a jacket, and normally the edges of that bodice would be pinned just like you pinned the stomacher. That's how they did it. But it doesn't hold reliably for me, especially since I'm doing a lot more moving around than a lady would do.
Yeah.
So I used the Velcro because it was expedient, but I always hated that I had Velcro on this otherwise authentic costume. So I compromised and I used another fastening method that is historically accurate. It wasn't as common, but it was used a lot. And that's just hooks and eyes. And that's what is holding it now, where I'm wearing it right now.
Yeah. So I know it's actually, that's interesting because I did see just a couple of historical examples of hooks and eyes. So, for people who don't know, they wouldn't have had zippers back then, and they wouldn't have had metal grommets. Everything would have been hand worked.
Mm-hmm.
But hooks and eyes they did have. So that's pretty fascinating.
Yeah, and even on my stays, I did the same. I did not put grommets in my stays. I hand worked all the eyelets because I wanted it to be, you know, as close as possible. I'm not 100%
Sure.
a stitch Nazi on things like that, but in that particular instance, I was going to only make one pair of stays, and so I wanted them to be as accurate as they could be.
Yeah. Now, one thing I did see, you could use rings. I have seen that. So you could use a ring,
Lacing rings
a
were
lacing ring, yeah, and then just to give it a bit more stability.
it's interesting. This costume that I took from the show, this appeared in the promo shots before season 1 even started, but it was laced closed in the promo shots. And then later on, when it was seen in the show, the lacing was all of a sudden gone. And so that's why, like in the previous slide you showed, it was laced closed because I was copying that.
Yes.
And when this appeared, I thought, well, I like the look of it better because it doesn't cover up that beautiful stomacher, but how am I going to keep it in place? And the pins just didn't work. So, but now that I've hit on the hooks and eyes, I love it. It works perfectly, and it's much more historically correct than my dumb
Yeah.
Velcro.
Well, what I noticed, and I saw a very close up of one of the bodices, and she had incorporated like little loops or something, like just underneath the sort of like where the jacket sort of meets the
Yeah,
stays. There were like these little hidden, I think it was almost on a separate piece that was attached, and then that's what the laces would have gone through. But basically, they were hidden.
the best
She,
thing that I could find for that is heavy duty hooks and eyes. If you go to
yes,
Joann's, you'll see they have those really big hooks and eyes. And I think what Terry used was something similar to that because you could see in real high res pictures, you could see the end of the hook. And basically it was just this round thing with the
hmm,
going through it. I did do that on several of my other bodices that lace up. I use that technique and it does look good and it works well. I'm actually using them there in that picture, though you can't see it, but
yeah. So this picture here, are you at a Ren fair sort of here? Or
I am. I'm at the Michigan Renaissance Festival there with my son Jacob, and
He's so cute.
his kilt that he's wearing is made of the black watch fabric I spoke of earlier.
Yeah, and I think I thought I had a picture of you and your husband as well with it, but that'll probably come up.
It will.
Okay, and then this one I love. This is this a more recent one you did?
This was from last summer. Yeah,
Okay.
I took that picture at an event that's called River of Time. It's a timeline event, so there's historical reenactors there, anywhere from the 1700s up to modern day. And I wore my Claire outfit there just because I thought it fit in well, and everyone loved it.
Yeah, I have to say that color bodice is like my absolute favorite. And it's kind of like what I thought it reminds me of, woad, which is that sort of, plant dye that they would have used back then. Matter and woad, which I always thought would be a great name for a business. Matter and woad. Yeah, it's sort of like a blue, like not quite green, but like a really kind of, I don't know, I'm not sure what kind of blue you call that. And then what kind of wool do you use for the bodices? I meant to ask you that.
Well, they vary. This particular bodice you're looking at is made of Melton, that I bought online, and it's a teal color. I think it was from fabrics.com, and it was called Stormy Sea. That was the color.
Yeah, fabrics.com is good actually. Their prices are pretty reasonable. I found,
Now,
but my favorite aspect, sorry, Kristen.
Sorry, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say my favorite aspect also, besides the color, I love the sleeve, like the way, is there like a pleat in it or is it just cut that way?
It's cut sort of, it's not as full as like what you would see on a Victorian jacket, which has giant poofs, but it's made the same way. The sleeve pattern is more or less straight until you get to the top, and then it rounds out like this a little bit. So when you go to set it to the arm side, I do the underside first, and I stitch it all the way up to maybe there, and then I hand pleat just little tiny pin tucks basically to evenly distribute it, and then stitch it so you get just a little bit of a poof on the shoulder, but not
I just love it. And then you're wearing looks like a very pretty little chemise or something under it, just a nice little bit of white.
That's my shift. Yep, same one I'm wearing here, and I was wearing in the previous slide. It's made of, if you go to Joann's, you always see it there. It's like the cotton crinkle gauze is what that's made of. It's not really accurate, only because back then cotton was forbidden in England. So it would have been linen, but this was the closest I could get to the look of what we see on the show, because Claire's chemises are not so, they look thinner and they look more flowy, more like this. So this is the closest thing I could find, and it does look really nice.
Yeah, it's a little bit gauzy, like almost like there's one picture I saw of her where she's standing and she's sort of backlit. You can almost see it's, transparent almost. It's sort
Yes.
of gauzy, not that heavy weighted. I mean, you could even maybe use like muslin, or we used to call it factory cotton, just a lighter weight one.
I tried 3 different things. My first draft for a shift I made out of linen because that was what was accurate.
Mm-hmm.
And it was okay, but it was stiffer than what I wanted. It didn't look like what she had. So I tried Egyptian cotton the second time, and that just felt like a bed sheet. It's nice. It's my backup one, but it feels like a bed sheet. This gauze that I got from Joanne works really well. I like the look of it, and it's the best thing I could find. So I went with it.
So let me here. I want to see if we can get through. I'm just going to pass through here because let's go to this one here actually.
That's the boar hunt outfit.
Yeah. So you want to talk a little? Well, now the what's the cape called here?
That's
to jog my memory.
That's a capelet. That is one that I did not purchase. This one from Sandra Bean. I didn't know her at that time, so
sure.
I bought this one from another person who's a member of my group. Her name is Sandy Russo, and she has an Etsy shop called Knitsy Blonde. That's where I bought this one from, and it's an excellent reproduction.
Yeah, so I actually interviewed her for the video, and she does a really great range of all of the Outlander, and she does other things. Actually, she's planning. It's funny because I just did a Black Panther video, so she's planning on doing Nakia's. I think it's an infinity shawl. So, but she has a full range, and what I love too is she'll do this particular one in like maybe 4 or 5 colors.
Yep.
And custom. So, and her prices are pretty reasonable, I thought too.
Yeah.
You're getting a handcrafted item. And so what about the apron?
That is that's made of heavy linen. I have changed it somewhat since this picture was taken. I had literally just finished that apron and put that little blood stain on there with some paint that I had, some acrylic paint, and hadn't done anything else to the apron yet. Since I took that picture, I put it in a taupe dye bath. I don't like to use tea only because it gives unpredictable results. I like to use liquid taupe for aging because it gives a predictable result. So I did that, and it looks much better now. It looks more like what Claire's looks like there on the right.
Yeah, because she's supposed to be out in sort of the field, and there is quite a bit of blood, but you do have that sort of, it's a nice dark red. It's not like a bright red like you would see.
It's like a rustic umber acrylic paint for that because it's meant to look like dried blood. And then I did not make that mustard colored skirt yet. I haven't found a fabric I like for it. So
sure.
I'm wearing the same skirt that I'm wearing today. I'm wearing under there because it was the closest thing I had.
But she's not, she's wearing the basket here though. She's not wearing the apothecary.
I have that basket as well. I found a fishing basket. I found it on Etsy, I think. And then I hand braided a shoulder strap. And so I do have that basket as well.
So, so I want to see if I can get through here. I'm going to move through and say, sorry, I'm going to pass through. I want to get to your corset. We can come back to some of these other ones. Right, guys. Okay, here we go. Your stays, I should say. Your stays. So if anybody's wondering what the stays are, this is what you're wearing underneath your bodice. Or I don't know, maybe you have more than one.
No, I only have the one set of stays. I've made 2 sets, but the first set that I made, I sold to someone else on my group. This was my
literally selling the clothes off your back, Kristen.
Yep.
That's awesome. That's dedication.
That's the back you're looking at there. The pattern that I used originally laced in the back, but since I don't have a lady's maid to help me into it, I changed it and made it lace in the front. And that is fairly typical for someone who was maybe in a little bit poor household and didn't have a lady's maid. They would have front lacing stays so they could put them on themselves.
Yeah, and then under or sort of just tucked under the stays, you have a bum pad.
Yep.
Which is there. It's in green. And then what did that do? Just so everyone knows.
All that helps to do is, like, you have these huge skirts on, but for some reason, even with all the volume of that skirt, when you look at the side, it looks like you have no butt. Like it's just flat. And the profile then, or the desired look was to have a thin waist, wider hips, and a nice round bum. That's what was considered a good breeding stock, I guess you would say. So the bum pad, the function of that is to round out the back of the skirt and to hold those heavy skirts up so that you still have some sort of a profile there and you're not just flat. That's one style of bum pad that you could use. Others are more tubular, but that style did not work well for my body shape. This one worked much better.
Yeah, and then also, so and your shift is here too, so we can. Is this the one you're wearing right now?
Mm-hmm. Yep. I screwed up when I made it at first, and I made the sleeves a bit short, so I tacked on an extension there. And fortunately, that seam is hidden under my bodice. You never see it.
That's awesome. And so now one of the things I noticed you talked about, instead of using, now they would have used boning in these days, but you use something sort of interesting for your boning?
I used industrial zip ties, which is something that's very popular nowadays because not only is it cheap and easy to get, but it's very close to synthetic whalebone in terms of how it flexes, how it holds. So it's similar in that aspect, but also they're very cheap. I could go to Harbor Freight and buy a package of 10 for about $2. So
yeah, because I mean, I don't know if you've ever tried using Ridgeline, which is the stuff that comes like on a coil.
yeah.
It comes in black and white, and it does nothing, right? I mean, it's fine for maybe prom dresses or something, like just boning a little bit, soft boning, but it twists and warps, and so this you found is pretty good. It doesn't tend to break or crack or
break it all, and the zip ties won't twist. They do flex some, but then you're not relying only on the zip ties to hold you in either. That set of stays is made with 4 layers of fabric. I have 3 layers of canvas under there, and then the top fabric is a woven cotton, a woven linen, and then the lining is linen. So technically, there's 5 layers there that are all stitched together, and then the bones are just in between those layers. So you're getting support from the fabric as well as the boning.
Yeah, and here's a side profile, guys, if you want to see. So you sort of seam the whole thing together, and then you bind everything with some binding tape of some kind.
Yep, I used white twill tape. You can use several different things. My first draft of stays, I used kid leather, which was another thing they used. Just very hard for me to work with. So in my second draft, I went with white twill tape because it was easy to hand stitch on.
Yeah, exactly, and it just gives it a nice clean finish. And now, so for anybody who's out there who wants to know, you want to tell everybody, what's it like to wear 18th century stays?
It's not nearly as uncomfortable as you think it is. If they're fit properly, they're very comfortable. The only thing you have to get used to is that you can't really, just like with any corset, you can't always draw full breath the way we're used to. And you're obviously not going to slouch because it's supporting you. If they fit you properly, they're very comfortable. And the one thing that stays do well that corsets don't always do well is that they will not cut into your waistline. And that's by virtue of those tabs you see at the bottom. The bones run down into those free tabs. And so if it encounters your waistline or your hip bones, they just bend out. So they can't cut into you. And consequently, that also gives you a nice curve to your hips and to your waistline. It enhances the look.
Yeah, and I was going to say, like, in terms of this silhouette, like, I think compared to almost any century, it really looks good on pretty much anybody. Like, I know you said that you had to adjust the bum pad, but it really works for pretty much, slim or skinny or fuller figured. It really busty. It really looks good on pretty much everybody. Like, I have to say, anytime I've seen someone in a Claire cosplay, Outlander cosplay, it always looks really great, don't you think?
Very flattering silhouette, and it's also, I think, the reason why I was drawn to that versus something like 1860s. That period is not my favorite. Now, I have seen it done well on occasion, but it's, in my personal opinion, it's sort of an overstuffed look because they've changed the corset. It's not like the stays. Instead, it's more of an hourglassy type figure, not quite like Victorian, but it's definitely not conical like this. And all the layers they wear over it, it sort of makes everything look overstuffed. Whereas this is one of my 2 favorite time periods as far as a silhouette because it really does work well for everyone. This and Empire waisted or Regency era, which is you know, that also flatters all body styles.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I was gonna say, Carrie McDonald, she says, having a hard time typing. I have two stays and they have metal supports.
Mhm.
She says, was wearing because I have a hernia from belly button, have short waist, so it dug in.
Ah,
So I'm not sure what.
that's weird.
Yeah.
Are your stays, do they have the tabs on the bottom like mine do? Because there are other types of stays, like, for example, during Regency period, they wore shorter stays, which did
Mhm.
not have the tabs on the bottom. It may be that type, possibly.
Yeah, or then there's the ones also that just go really, really deep in the front and then shorter at the side. I think that like that. So yeah, it may not be that the right, the right period of corset or stays, I should say.
Hard to say, or it could even be that that particular pattern wasn't long enough. I did notice when I was making my stays that I bought two different patterns. This one that you're looking at is JP Ryan, which
Yeah.
fantastic pattern. I also bought the Simplicity, and I did find that it's a lot shorter. I would have had to extend it quite a bit to get it to fit me because I'm long waisted.
Yeah.
So
And also, like, I know, like, this is why it's important to sort of do like a nape to waist and a throat to waist measurement. Like when I was in theater, that was a really important measurement because, as you say, some people can be long waisted, some people could be short waisted. So you might have to adjust the pattern, which might be a little bit advanced for some people. What I used to find is like just if you can find a pattern as close to your sizing, like you said, using. It was JP. Who was the corset pattern maker?
JP Ryan.
Sure. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll try and get those links from you, and I'll put those in the description later. I know you have a lot of that stuff. I think on the Outlander group,
Mhm.
you have a really great resource there. Also, because we were talking about Jennifer. If anybody doesn't know who Jennifer is, she's one of the admins with you
Mhm.
on the Outlander group on Facebook, and she also has her own business where she takes upcycles tartan. Is that what we would call it?
Does many different things. Yes, one thing that Jennifer does, her company is called Two Silver Cats. And that started by her taking vintage tartans. She would go to Scotland and buy kilts and other types of garments in charity shops, and she'd bring them back and make them into new things, either make them into tote bags or make them into different types of garments. Is one of the things that she does. She also is the contact person to buy the tartans that I use from Gordon Kirkbright. So if anyone's interested in getting the tartans that were used in the show but are not sold by Celtic Croft, they are available through Jennifer at Two Silver Cats.
Yeah, and what's cool about those guys, so even though they are Canadian, like Gordon is in Vancouver and Jennifer's out west, they sell to the United States and Canada, but everything is milled in Scotland. So even though they are Canadian, Gordon has, and they're made at the same mill actually that the Outlander tartans are made. So that's a really cool thing. We can't tell you where it is though. I told Gordon it's a trade secret. He was worried. He'd asked me not to mention where it's located because he was worried that tourists would show up there. 'Cause you know how some of the Outlander fans are pretty crazy, and they'll just. And he says they're not equipped for it. Well, yeah. Have you? Well, you might have gone there. Have
No,
you gone there?
but I have never been there. I would love to. If that opportunity ever presented itself, I would love to, just because I can guarantee you I would be mesmerized by watching the machines do that work.
Yeah, and actually, in the video that I did, it was great because Jennifer gave me a couple of short videos of the process of them making the tartan, and it's really, really fascinating. And so she's had the pleasure, been able to going there a couple of times. But yeah, so we couldn't tell everybody where it's located because it's just a small little mill in a tiny little town, and yeah, I think they only have a few staff. They would just be completely overwhelmed if a tourist bus just showed up there.
The good news is, though, if people are interested, if they want these fabrics, they can be done. They do them in runs generally. And so the requirement that they have is a minimum of 15 yards. Now, you don't have to buy 15 yards yourself. They need to have enough people who want to buy that much yardage to do the weave. And there's enough people on our group that every time a new tartan comes out or one is offered, there's enough people to get a run going. So you can jump in on the run and buy your yardage. They do offer payment plans, which makes it very easy to afford the best quality tartan you can get anywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't, unfortunately, this is what happened. So about 3 months ago, when I first met Jennifer, I ordered a shawl. I told Gordon, I said, one of the things I really would love, I would love an Aran sweater, which I have yet to get. And I would love to get a tartan shawl and, or plaid. If you're American, you would say plaid. um, and, so he says, "Oh, I know just the person." So he set me up with Jennifer. That's how it all happened. And so anyway, she shipped my shawl, and I was like, "Oh, it'd be so great if it got here in time." But unfortunately, it didn't. So I'm going to wear it at the next live stream. But also, I told her I would get a photo of myself in it, and then I can put it up on the Facebook group. We do that. But I'm thinking I wanted to get like some kind of brooch for it. I do have a small brooch right now, but anyways, Celtic Croft, I think they have a beautiful selection
Thank you.
of Scottish brooches. So have you ever bought anything from them?
I did. I bought a great kilt for hubby out of the Outlander Tartan, and when I did,
Sure.
I bought a panannular brooch for him, and I
Yes.
also bought a Fraser brooch for myself.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Now, do they have the licensed brooches, the licensed Fraser brooches there?
They do. They have the real ones. Now, the one that Jamie wears in the show is different, and that one I've only seen one place. I went to a Living History convention here in Michigan, and there's a silversmith there who made one that I've looked at for the last 2 years, and I haven't bought it yet, but I came so close this year to buying it because it's different. It has the running stag on it and looks
Yeah.
different from the real life Fraser one, but Celtic Croft does have the real life Fraser one. I bought a couple there.
Yeah. So now here's another bodice. This one I love because it's got the little peplum
Yep.
and the detachable sleeves as we were talking about earlier. So is this the same? Is this the McCall's pattern?
No, that one is made from the JP Ryan pattern, which is what I had made all of my stuff out of originally before I discovered the McCalls. And it's a good pattern too. JP Ryan makes excellent stuff that's historically correct and easy to put together. And they go together quite well too. The only real niggling thing I had about it was that the back seams weren't exactly the same and the shape of the peplum wasn't really the same. So once I discovered the McCalls, I saw that's my favorite one now.
Yeah. Oh, one thing I haven't asked you, I know some of the girls on the group, they do this. Sorry, we have a few guys too, but it does seem to be mostly women. They sometimes make theirs out of muslin just to sort of, try it out and see how it is. Have you ever done that? Done a muslin mock-up?
Once in a while, you're supposed to every time. And
Mm.
if I were a professional
Oh,
seamstress,
who has time for that?
I just don't, and especially when it's something like that. Like, I've made so many bodices that once I've made one and it works out, then I'm confident. I don't need to make another one. But when I got the McCall's pattern, I probably should have done a toile of that one, and I didn't. I just dove in, and as it turned out, it's such an excellent pattern. It worked perfectly.
Yeah. So, and this is a thing too. But if, for instance, if you do try a pattern and you're not sure about it, you could do a toile or muslin mock-up, which is just basically you make it out of like a cheaper fabric, usually like a neutral color, and then if you need to make adjustments, that's what you can do, and then from there you can adjust the pattern, and then you'll have like a sloper, like a permanent pattern. Some people, what they do even with commercial patterns is they just take it and trace it onto something harder, like a heavier duty craft paper.
Yep, I've done that before to save patterns so you can use them over and over again.
Yeah, because the one thing that was the one issue. I mean, commercial patterns are great if you can refold them.
Yes.
It's like you have to have like a master's degree or something to be able to refold the pattern and get it back in the sleeve nicely.
It is one thing I will say about JP Ryan over any other one that I've bought from is that their patterns come on nice heavy paper, not tissue.
Oh,
like
really?
McCall's is on tissue, which
Yes.
It's the worst because you
Well,
have
like Simplicity, McCall's. I mean, and it's been like that since I was a kid. Like, really, it has, right? Like that sort of very thin paper.
Mhm.
I think Sean McGuire says, shout out if you're one of the few guys in the Facebook group. We're a small number.
It's true, but you are definitely well appreciated. We love having our guys.
No, for sure. And I mean, it's funny because I was looking at my statistics today and I have the majority of my viewers are women, but it's funny because we've got like 30-day reviews is in the chat. He's another creator and Aaron's in the chat. And so we do have a few guys representing here. But guys, it's funny. One of the things I noticed is when I went to Toronto Comic-Con, and I'm really hoping you'll come to that because then, you and I can actually meet in person. That would be so much fun.
Yes.
Is like it's equal, really. It's equal guys and gals at these events, and it's so much fun to be able to meet men and women who are both equally passionate about cosplay or costuming, and so I found that really, really neat. Whereas with the channel, most of the people who watch are women, so I love having the guys representing.
Me too. Yeah, I agree. And we have a small group, like they said, but
yeah,
nevertheless, they are great contributors to our conversation. And, sometimes you have to, like these guys that are in our group don't have to be, led by the hand, but my husband did. He, when I made my costume, I said, I want to make you one to go with it. And he was hesitant at first. He said,
sure.
You can make me a kilt, but that's it. So I made him the kilt. And then once we started watching the show and he'd watched it for a while, he said, okay, you can make me the rest. So.
Okay. So I'm going to move. Okay. The next slide. Okay. Everybody brace yourselves. So, so tell, okay. Now, sorry. Now, was this before Outlander? Should I say BO before Outlander?
Yes, it is BO. I had started making that. And actually, my Predator costume looks somewhat different now from that picture. That picture is a couple, 3 years old, but I made that original costume almost 10 years ago. And it's how I met my husband, actually. We met at a comic convention, and he saw me in that Predator costume.
Oh, my God. Now, you're on the right.
I am on the right, yes.
Okay. Sorry, before we go on, Kristen, sorry, 30-day reviews. He came in late, so he didn't get your answer to this. He says, okay, being a guy, what's the difference between a stay and a corset? Sorry, 30-day reviews. I wasn't meaning to ignore you.
Oh, well, I mean, there's practical differences and there's terminology differences. On the surface, it's a terminology difference. They're called stays just because that's the word they used back then. The idea was that you would stay in that form. The corset term came up later on, but now fast forwarding to modern times and looking back at them, there are quite a few differences, not only in the way that they're constructed, but also in the silhouette that they're trying to give you. A corset, when you say corset, generally refers to something Victorian era or after, which is around the turn of the century, and it's a very hourglass type shape where you're like this. Whereas with stays, the goal is to make you into a cone. So you're flattened here and you go straight down. It's a different silhouette. Basically, it's the difference.
Oh, Mad the DJ says, I'm a guy and I'm in here. Haha. Carrie has a comment. She says, the bride used her mother's maiden name Davis for her tartan. Bridesmaids wore little tartan rosettes with Celtic knot brooches. So I'm not sure what she's referring to here.
Well, I have no doubt that's true.
Yeah. I wanted to say hello to Pastel Pomeranian. Can I just say I like how people's boobs look in corsets. They look like little bread rolls peeking out of the corset.
Yeah, it's the popular historical term is that the goal is to make them look like two apples on a plate. That's
2 apples on a plate being presented to the king.
Yeah.
Well, and they do now. And I know when I worked in theater, we used to use all kinds of things. Like we'd put, crescents under there to kind of get them to go up a little bit more. Bags of rice. Like, you put like, this was a weird technique. Yeah. You take like what do you call it? A stocking, and then you put rice in it, and then you put it underneath just to give you a little bit more of that. It's funny. In one of my videos, I said décolletage, and I had somebody ask me never to say that again.
Oh, because you're supposed to say décolleté. Right?
Well, there's décolleté. Yeah. Well, they're both apparently accurate, but anyway, I was like, fine, I'll never say it again. So now I just usually say, cleavage or neck. I don't know. I don't even know what I say. So, but anyways, thanks for the comment.
I have the opposite problem in my wearing of this costume. Is I'm comparing my body, which is quite different from Kate Bell's. She's slender as a reed, and I'm always trying to get that
Yeah.
look, but I can't get that look. I don't squish flat like that. So I have
Yes.
the opposite problem. Instead of trying to push mine up more, I'm always trying to push them down as much as possible, and I don't have much success with that. But
Sure, yeah, because she's quite small. Oh, sorry. Carrie was saying she was referring to a wedding that she was in. That's what. Sorry. So I'm sorry, Carrie. I got like the second part of what you were saying, and it's just hard sometimes to read through the chat, guys. Sorry, I
that sounds
apologize.
awesome, though. I would love to see that at a wedding.
Yeah, me too. So okay, here's a really great close up of you guys.
Yep, that's me and hubby.
So were you married at this point, or you weren't married?
Yes, we were married at this point. This is a year after we met, and my husband took there's a longer version of this picture that shows us full length, and he took this picture and had it made into a three-dimensional crystal sculpture
Oh
that
my
I
God.
in my sitting room that depicts this. It's my favorite shot of the two of us, and we started doing this. How it evolved was we were so tired at a con, the two of us, from wearing this outfit for as long as we were, and we were being mobbed. I was just so tired. And I came up to him and I rested my head on his head like that. And it became kind of our trademark. We do that all the time now.
Aw, so cute. Now, how did you get into Predator? Are you a big sci-fi fan?
Here's the crystal that he had.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Of that. I am. I do love sci-fi, and 10, maybe 12 years ago, I wanted to make either a Predator costume or an alien costume. And I thought at that time the alien was beyond my skill, so I thought I'd try the Predator and started building this. And I've upgraded a lot of it since then, but essentially the bones of it are the same costume all along. I've just changed certain details.
Yeah. Now, have you seen Aliens versus Predators?
Oh, of course, yeah.
I love that movie. It got kind of panned, but it's really fun.
I love it.
Yeah, I thought so too. That's
the costume that my husband is wearing is from that. That's the Celtic Predator from AVP.
Oh, okay, okay. And then here's a close-up of you.
Yep, this one is, again, it's quite old. This one has shorter dreadlocks on it than the previous picture, but the mask is the same and the armor is the same.
So now we must get really hot.
Mine isn't bad because my bodysuit is just a Lycra bodysuit that I hand painted, whereas my husband's wearing a full latex and foam outfit, so he gets much hotter than I do.
Yeah, yeah. And then is this you? This is you too. Now, what's going on with the? I guess it's your glove with the blade on it.
That was I don't have that anymore, but those were functional wrist blades. They were on. I made them on a drawer slide track, and
okay, yeah,
spring hook to it, and you can see a little string going up my hand, and I had a ring around my finger, so when I would flex and move my wrist forward, those blades would shoot out.
Oh my gosh.
I don't wear them anymore because they would deploy accidentally at a con.
Yeah. So who's in the seat here? You're on the Iron Throne.
That's my husband again. It's another.
Oh, it is. Oh, he's got a second one.
He does. That's another one that he has. And then this is a more up-to-date version of my costume that this was from last year and is more current with what I look like now.
Yeah. And then you're sitting on the Iron Throne. So that was pretty cool.
Yes, that was really neat.
Yeah. But you also, I have a Melisandre of you coming up in a bit. So we'll look at that.
I love these pictures. This really makes my costume look better than it really is.
So did you have a professional photographer take these ones?
I did. These pictures were taken by Sean M. Scott Photography. He's a good friend of mine that attends most of the conventions I go to, and he regularly photographs the cosplayers in my group, and he just does fantastic work.
Yeah, it's like using dry ice and stuff, it looks like.
He's got a fogging machine, and he had someone working that. He's got a backlight there. This was taken in a service corridor at one of the conventions, just in the back alleyways somewhere, and he got these shots, and they look so good.
Yeah, Cindy asks, how did you breathe in that?
It's actually not as bad as you would think.
In the face piece.
The eyes only have some black nylon stocking fabric glued across them, so I have airflow coming in through the eyes.
Okay. Aaron says a much better love story than Twilight. Aw.
Absolutely.
I love that. Aaron's such a romantic, by the way. He's a lovely person. Predators in love. That's real love. That's so sweet. And then so you do it. He's one of my new viewers. He says, "Holy crap, I stepped in at the right time." I was going to tell you, my husband and I fell in love over Blade Runner.
Oh, that's good too.
Yeah, we went on a date. No, actually, yeah, we went on a date, and we went out for margaritas, which was really fun. Sorry, a little story time here, guys. And I said to him, "Okay, I have a question for you. What's your favorite movie?" And he said, well, geez, it would have to be Blade Runner." And I'm like, "Oh my God, that's my favorite movie." And from there, it was like love. We got married within a year, pretty much, of that. So there you go. Science fiction can bring you together.
Yep, and it does.
Well, it's true. And then when I went over to his place, I looked at all his movies to see what he had. And he had like Logan's Run, and he had like The Wicker Man, and he had all these crazy. And I'm like, oh my God, like you've got such a crazy. He had Tron. He had a really eclectic collection. Mm-hmm. And I knew, and it's funny, even to this day, I mean, we watch all the same shows together. We enjoy all the same shows together. So it does make a difference, I think.
Yep, same with us. We were soulmates.
And those who cosplay together stay together.
Yep.
So, okay. Oh, Kristen, here we're back a little bit to some Outlander. I wanted to show Ray to everybody, though. Is that okay if we just we'll come back to this shawl because I adore it. Okay, so here we go. So why of all Star Wars costumes did you decide to do Ray?
Oh my God. I grew up with Star Wars like most of us that are my age did. I grew up with it.
Yeah.
But, somewhere after the prequels, there was no more Star Wars for one thing. So I kind of let it go by the wayside, and it was a fond thing that I liked, but there was no more of it, and we never expected there would be. The Force Awakens comes out, and Rey is like, she just spoke to me. She is such a strong character, but also someone who sees the good in everyone. She reacts to that. She has a true heart that she follows, but she's also someone who's very independent. She can take care of herself. She can handle herself in any situation. Really spoke to me and got me to love Star Wars all over again.
Yeah, I felt the same way. And actually, it's funny. I felt really bad because on one of my first live streams, I adore the original trilogy. I have a video actually on the original Star Wars. But then someone was asking about the prequels, and I was like, I don't want to offend anybody. But yeah, this new, The Force Awakens, is amazing. I'm really looking forward to Solo. Like, I'm so excited. Like, some people, I don't know if it was AU Pack Meal. One of my viewers is not into it at all, but I'm really excited. So she is an amazing character. And actually, I noticed when I went to a couple of the cons that she's a very popular character, especially for young women,
Absolutely. She is a great role model for women. And I'll tell you what, when I go to cons and I'm dressed as Rey, I have girls coming up to me they're not afraid of me. They may be afraid of a stormtrooper, or they may be afraid of something else, but they'll come up to me and give me a hug. They're so adorable, and it makes me feel so good to see them see something that they aspire to.
She's, and it's also nice to see in a science fiction movie have a female protagonist. Because usually the hero's journey is often done by a male character. Now, try not to get into like politics, guys, but just it's just nice to see a strong female character. She doesn't have to be dressed like like in a skimpy Leia bikini slave costume. It's just a really, really nice change.
And we've had some of those over the years, but more so now. I mean, we had Ripley in the 70s, which I love Ripley. She is fantastic.
Yeah.
But, they were more few and far between. Now, thankfully, they're much more common.
Yeah. So do you want to tell me a little bit how you put this, like the goggles are amazing on this.
My goggles are, that's another case of, like I spoke about before, resisting the impulse to sell things. I made my goggles, my first pair of goggles, and then I got such a reaction from them, people asking if I would make them a pair, and I didn't want to, and I didn't. Well, eventually I ended up doing it, and now, where we are today, I have made and sold over 85 pairs of those goggles. And I've innovated each time that I did a run to try to get them to look a little closer. That previous slide was my first generation goggles, which look much different than these ones you're looking at here. And these are probably as close as I can get from looking at the film and looking at screen captures. I'm actually really excited because this month we have Star Wars and the Power of Costume coming to the Detroit Institute of Arts. And I'm going to get to see the real goggles in person. And I can't wait to compare them and see how close I came.
Oh yeah. So will you get some good pictures of that and post those? I'd
Yeah.
love to see them. Now, like, where did you have these pictures done? I love these pictures here.
That is at a place called the Sleeping Bear Dunes in northern Michigan. We went there for our anniversary. One of the things we do on our anniversary is we go along the coast of Michigan and try to see all of the lighthouses. And since I knew we were going to the dunes, I thought it's a perfect place to get some Ray pictures. So I took my costume along and got these pictures. And while we're on the dunes taking these pictures, there's kids coming back from the beach and they're just walking down the dunes and holy crap, there's Ray. They like didn't expect to see that. And it was really, really cool to get to see their reactions.
Yeah, I just want to say that I've got a couple of comments here. Oh, Tatiana is here. Tatiana, hi Tatiana. This is her first live stream coming. She's one of my oldest viewers, and she's like an aspiring costume designer.
Okay.
I'll have to show you some of her pictures. Like they're really, really amazing. So, but she's still in school and studying, and so actually, I'm going to try and do like I was thinking of doing like, showing some of the viewers their artwork and so on. I've done it in a few videos, but maybe on a future live stream, I was going to share some of her work. And same with Erin, who's also in the chat. So the two of them, I love seeing this. Like it just really, like I get so excited when I get viewers sending me submissions, like things that they've created or they've designed themselves or their own cosplay, even if it's like their first time, like, they're like, they sometimes are a little bit shy about it. They're like, oh my gosh, like I've never done this before, but it's so incredible to see young people doing this type of thing. And honestly, like, you've been doing this for years. I'm still totally passionate about costumes. It's like, it's such a wonderful way for people to show their creativity, to express themselves. It's a great way to meet other people who are into the same thing you are. Like how many friends do you think you've made from this?
Oh gosh, who knows? I mean, since I joined the Rebel Legion and I've met so many people that way. Also, I co-admin a Ray group as well, a Ray costuming group. And I have 1,500 sisters all over the world.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like the amount of people, even me just doing the channel, like I've met people from all over the world. It's so cool. And then people like, will send me, I'll get like, I love it when I look in my inbox and there's something from someone that they've sent to me. And it just gives me such joy to see that. And like I say, now I'm like, oh, I've decided I'm going to go back to, cause my background's theater, but I'm going to go back and I'm going to try and make myself a Viking kirtle, I'm like kind of getting into that. So maybe I'll eventually do an Outlander something. Kristen, maybe I can get you to talk me into that. So so this is a great shot too. Look at this. The one thing I wanted to ask you about is this picture here. So is this from the movie or is this your own little addition?
No, that is me. That picture was taken by Sean Scott as well. In the movie, you may remember in The Force Awakens, Rey had a little X-Wing doll that she had made. It was in her AT-AT home that she had.
Okay.
Doll that she made, and I made one of these and just sort of had it tucked into my belt because I thought it was so cute. And
I just love it because it's sort of interesting because like at first I'm thinking like, there was some speculation who her parents are, right? So when you looked at that, did you think, oh, I wonder what that's all about?
Well, I actually had bought a little booklet that came out. It was, oh gosh, it was a Ray's Survival Guide is what it was called. And it was an official release that was made. It was made for younger kids. And it talks about her X-Wing doll in there and how she made it because when she was younger, growing up on Jakku, she, thought about all the pilots that she would hear about. And she had found a helmet. They actually show her wearing that in Force Awakens. She puts that X-Wing helmet on and is eating.
Yes.
That belongs to a pilot called Dasmit Ray. And so everyone thinks maybe that's where the name Ray came from, was from that possibly.
Oh, okay.
She made this little doll because she would imagine herself as a pilot.
Yeah.
And go on adventures with that little doll. That's why she made that. So I had it in my belt. I was wearing it around the con and Sean was taking pictures of my costume and he took this picture just of that little section. And I'm glad that he did, because I don't have that doll anymore either. I gave it to there was a little 4-year-old girl there that was dressed as Ray, came up to see me. She melted my heart when I saw her because she was so adorable. I gave her that doll. And so I was glad that she had it.
Yeah, no, I love that picture. Like I immediately was like, oh my God, it's like it's an X-ray, it's a, what do you call it? Can you help me? X-Wing fighter.
Yeah. Yeah.
X-Wing pilot.
Yep.
Ugh, it's getting late for us here. Oh, I just want to say, okay, Pastel Pomeranian, it was saying, I wish I was, this is something that maybe you can answer, or maybe we can answer. He says, I used to cosplay, then I got fat. I feel like I can't cosplay anymore. And then he said that he'd gotten sick. Now, that's completely not true. This is the one thing that's great about, I think, about cosplay. It's something for everybody.
It really is. And, honestly, I've put on weight myself that I will eventually find a way to take off again, but it doesn't matter. Whatever character it is that you're doing, it doesn't make any difference what your body shape is like. My body shape isn't like Kate Belf's when I'm wearing Outlander. Nevertheless, I do it. My body shape isn't like Daisy Ridley either. I'm not as thin as she is. But I still do Ray because I love the character, and it just does not matter. It doesn't matter what size or shape you are. It doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't even matter what gender you are. There are people who do gender bend Rays. There are people who do gender bend female characters, male characters. Doesn't matter. It's just if you love the character, you go out and you do it, and you don't let anyone stop you.
Yeah, and I know I noticed a lot of gender bending. Like for instance, when I was like speaking of size, like there was a guy who I met who did Hodor. And he was massive. I sorry, I don't mean overweight. I mean, he was like, I don't know, 6'8" or something.
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, there are so many different characters that you can do. I mean, and you don't even have to do that. I mean, it could be anything you want to do. This is what's great about it. And one of the things I notice about the people in the community is they're very not judgmental. They're very warm and caring. Like I have to say, like I would go up to people like a crazy person and just say, hey, can I talk to you about your costume? Do you mind being on camera? And I didn't have one person say no. Right. Everyone was so willing to talk to me about their costumes. It's a wonderful community. So I would just encourage you to look and get back into it. And like you can join the Ray group if you want. Like the one thing that's great about Facebook is there's lots of groups dedicated to the type of cosplay you want to do, like whether it be like I'm really into Game of Thrones. I think I've mentioned this to you before. So, there's lots of groups that are dedicated to, and of course I'm in the Outlander group. So whatever your passion is, you can find it and it's out there. And like right now I've found my peeps, I found my people. Just because I'm really into Westworld right now, I found my Westworld people, which is, by the way, have you seen that show, Kristen?
I love Westworld. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. And you know what else I noticed on your Facebook? I think you like the AU. Is it the OA? I should say the OA.
Yes.
Isn't that a great show?
Yes, and I'm super excited because there is going to be a season 2 coming soon, which is fantastic.
I love the woman who stars in it. She's an example, kind of really successful, self-made. She's a writer, she's an actor, she's directed. And, she actually is the one who's like responsible for that project. And it got some really weird mixed reviews, but I thought it was such an original idea. Things would happen on that show and I'd be like, what's going on here? Kind of like Westworld in some ways.
I was so captivated by that show. It was suggested to me by someone, and I binged the whole thing from start to finish, which I don't normally do. I like to savor things, but I was so captivated by the story that I just binged it. And then I thought, well, shoot, now it's over. Now what do I do? Well, I did hear that Britt Marling's putting out another season, so I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, I just love her. I've seen a few of her movies. Like her movies are really like The Sound of My Voice. Is if you've ever seen that. If you haven't seen it, you should see it because if you like Britt Marling, I think you'll really like it. So you and I are both into the sci-fi.
Yep.
And we both met our hubbies through the sci-fi.
Yep.
So here's one of your belts. And this is where you use the tool. The carving tool to do sort of this calligraphy look.
Yep, I did. That again was kind of just an accident. I was just playing around. I made the belt and I thought, well, it's kind of plain. It would be neat if I just put something on here. Obviously, Claire doesn't have anything written on her belt. It's just a plain belt.
Yeah, this is sort of your sort of addition. I was going to say, Tatiana mentioned that Varys would be a amazing cosplay if, you know, for a guy. Because it's just sort of a simple robe, and I mean, you have to shave your head, I guess, but
Yeah.
but actually I have some really great pictures of that guy that I met at Toronto Comic Con dressed up like Hodor. Oh, and Tatiana says, please no spoilers. Oh, sorry, no, we won't do spoilers.
Nope.
This is a spoiler free review. Okay, so let's go ahead here. So this one, I only have the one picture. I know you sent me more. Tell me about this one.
This is from a series of movies called Underworld. This is a character called Celine. She's a vampire. She hunts werewolves. This costume, I made the original of it probably 15 to 17 years ago. I've had this costume a long, long time. And
yeah, so it's Kate Beckinsale is the actor.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And she's, so she is, I think most, you were saying people, you didn't know if people would know, and I'm pretty sure most people know Underworld. You guys know Underworld, right? The vampire?
I would have is I would go to cons and, like, since there hadn't been a new Underworld movie out for a while, they just had one last year, but a few years ago when I would wear this to cons and there was no Underworld movies out, everyone thought I was Black Widow.
Oh, okay. But you had the really blue eyes and the fangs though, right?
Yeah, but they didn't see that. They saw the cat.
Okay. Yeah, Mad the DJ says Kate Beckinsale. See everybody.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And then Aaron says OMFG. I love Underworld. See, there you go.
I love
yeah, maybe just because it was a bit out of context. And you had it looks like you had a professional take this picture.
I did. This was my friend Anna Rossman. She's Dark Star Photography. She's another fellow Legion member and friend of mine, but she also does professional photography and always willing to work with me and capture my costumes.
Now, one thing I meant to ask you, do you ever wear wigs or is it always your own hair? Is this your own hair here?
No, that's a wig.
Oh, it is a wig. Okay. Because with your Claire cosplay, you're able to sort of, you've got similar hair to her. So you're able to sort of get away with that.
I did actually what she did. My natural hair is straight as a board, but I got it permed when I got hers permed because hers is bone straight as well. And so I went and got a perm for the first time in my life to try to do that. And it doesn't look quite the same as hers, but it's as good as I can do. It works well. But for Celine or something like that, I need a wig. And that wig, that particular wig is so good and so natural looking that I wear it.
Yeah, I thought it was your hair. Like it looks like your own hair.
Yeah, I wear it sometimes when I don't feel like doing my hair. I just throw my hat on and there you go.
Yeah, Cindy says, I have a Trinity costume from the Matrix. I only wear it for Halloween. Laugh out loud. So yeah, Trinity is sort of like a cat suit. Like I think hers is pleather though.
Yeah, and Trinity had a long coat, and also Celine has a very long coat that I sometimes wear. And when I would wear that, sometimes people would think I was Trinity too, although I wasn't wearing sunglasses or slick black hair, so I don't know, but whatever.
Yeah. So, and again, I mean, this Kate Beckinsale costume, I really liked it. Again, when this series of movies came out, I think I've seen all of them except for the last one, but it was great because, you know, back to the thing, like she's not like in a skimpy outfit. You know, she's
skimpy, but it's covered at least. You're all covered.
It's fitted, but it's not like, you know, it's not like a lot of bare skin. So it's kind of nice. You can feel comfortable. Like one of the things I've noticed when I go to some of these conventions, some of the girls, you know, I wouldn't feel comfortable doing it. They are and full, you know, good on them for it. But this would be more like the type of thing I would like to do.
Me too. I'm always covered up. In fact, probably the costumes I'm most comfortable in are the ones that cover my face.
Yeah. Oh, really? Okay. That's interesting.
Because I don't need to worry about, you know, when I've just posed for this picture, did I have a goopy look on my face? Sure. I don't have to worry about that. So, okay. I only had the one of that. So, here, is this the Sporran that you sent to, Sam? Yes.
Yeah.
The only thing that I changed was I took off that little button that's on there now, and I found a really nice concho that had a stag on it, which I thought worked better for Fraser. So, but otherwise it's exactly as you see it. I sent it to Sam.
Oh, that's awesome. I don't even know if I have some of your new Sporrans. Your new Sporrans are sort of more natural color. Like this is black, I think, right? But your new ones look more like this.
It's a brown.
Brown, yeah. Sorry, I don't have a picture. So this is your apothecary bag. on an apothecary table.
Yep, it is.
That works well.
That is a collection of bottles that I got because I've always had this idea that I wanted to have this spot in my house where I would keep these things like Claire had. And I actually went through the book and looked up all the terms that they use throughout the books, all throughout all of the novels, different things that she used to make certain medicinals. And I wrote them all down, and then I wrote them onto those labels.
Oh, those are beautiful. Have you ever seen the show? I think it's called Victorian Pharmacy.
No, but I've heard of it.
It's really good. I think you would really like it. So it's like these historians, you know, they're academics, but they basically open up like an apothecary and or you know, like a pharmacy, and then they make all of the medicines and they show you all the processes and everything. It's really fascinating. A lot of it stuff is from herbs. Some of it's like arsenic, you know, like and then they dress up in costumes. It's so awesome.
There's a whole series of those, like not only the apothecary, but like there's Victorian House, there's Regency House.
Yes.
And I love those things because if I got a chance to be on a show like that, I would be all over it.
Yeah, the one I watched was 1800 House, and it was the same people, and then they live in a house for a year.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, cook and you know, do the fields and grow the food and raise the livestock and all that. It was really interesting. And then, but they're also wearing the period correct clothing, which was, you know, super cool. And then they go all the way. I think I saw one where they even did like World War II. So they've done a number of periods. Sorry, that was like I was on a tangent there.
Yeah.
I wanted to find your Melisandre. Let me see if I can find it. I think I had passed it earlier, and then I'm gonna. Sorry, guys. I'm just sort of.
It's in there.
It's in here. I can hear your clock going off.
Yep, that's my.
You have a grandfather clock?
I do. Mm-hmm.
That's so awesome. Okay, so obviously you're dressed up as Melisandre from season 1.
Yep.
I think this is season 1.
Yes, it would be.
Mm-hmm. And then your husband is Jon Snow?
Yep, he's wearing my Celine wig there.
That's so he was able to report. Where'd you get this wig from? This is an amazing wig.
That one I bought from my friend Natasha Bieberfield. She is Socialist Revolution on the.
Yes, she's an amazing cosplayer.
And also the necklace that I'm wearing came from her. That one was handmade in Italy. It's very nice. I bought that and the wig from her. I also bought a gown that she had made for this, but it was too small for me, so I ended up sending it back to her.
Okay, so did you end up making this dress?
Yes.
And it looks like a sort of a crushed taffeta or something. What is it?
Yep, it is. It's a crushed taffeta.
It's beautiful. So now, have you done any other Game of Thrones characters? Or are you into any other Game of Thrones characters?
This is the only one that I've done, only because Melisandre, for some reason, was the one that I really identified the most strongly with, that I could pull off. Now, my favorite character is Arya Stark, but
yeah,
I can't pull that off. So instead, I sort of landed on this one because I look similar, have a similar hair color naturally, and I like her character as well, but I couldn't pull off Arya, otherwise I would.
Yeah, and then, so who did your husband's costume?
Now, this, I made that too. The funny thing is, when he's wearing this, at that point, I hadn't made him anything else, so the surcoat that he's wearing is from his Kylo Ren costume.
Oh, but did you add the fur? The fur collar?
Yes, I made the whole cloak. The cloak is made of heavy linen.
Oh, sorry, the surcoat, sorry, yes.
Yep.
So that, and it's got like all those like pleats or whatever.
Oh my God, pleats. Yes, tons of pleats. And then the cloak that I made is heavy linen. And then I went to Joann's to find some something that looked like sheep fur, which I couldn't really find, but that stuff that's on his shoulder was cotton candy pink. That's the only color they had.
Okay.
So I bought that and I dyed it. I tried to dye it black and it didn't take. It turned sort of a gray, but I kind of liked that it added a little bit of gray instead of all black.
Yeah, I kind of like it too. Well, it's interesting. One of the scenes in Game of Thrones at the beginning, I think they have a giant dye pot and they just sort of take their existing costumes and just sort of put them in there, and they'll come out different shades, right? So it's like whatever you get. But I guess if it might have had a bit of synthetic in it or something, might have not taken all the fab. And then how much fabric did your dress take? Like how many yards did you have to do for that?
Let's see. I think I think I bought. I always buy more than what I really need. I think I bought
Yeah.
6 yards, but I only ended up using maybe 3.5 to 4.
Oh, that's pretty good because the sleeves are pretty big.
Yeah, and that's where a lot of it came from, was that, because the rest of it is pretty. I mean, it's it's a wrap style, almost a kimono style dress. So there's not a whole lot of volume to it. Like, and I'm wearing a silk petticoat underneath that to give it a little bit more fullness.
Yeah, I think from just some of the research I was doing, like it looks like all of the girls wear some type of petticoat, and even I think even like Cersei, I think she might wear like a bit of a crinoline.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's hard to know. Like they always show her sort of like Melisandre taking off her robe and nothing's under there. But I mean, I think that they just do that for that scene. But I think she always has some type of foundation
Yeah, you really
garment.
kind of have to anyway, because the way that thing wraps, it
Yeah.
would blow it right open. So yeah, I do. And Cersei is another character that off and on I really want to do. I love her character, as evil as she can be. I
Yes.
love that character, and I really do think at some point I probably will do her as well, because I do identify with a lot of the aspects of her character too.
Would you do like her earlier seasons or would you go with that full black,
No, I
like
think I would tend towards the earlier seasons where she was
yeah.
the red and gold Lannister colors and had
Oh, I know.
blonde hair. That's probably what I would go for. I've seen other people do the short haircut, and it looks fantastic on them. It wouldn't work for me.
No, same with me. It's funny because I saw this picture of this one girl, this one costumer, and she was wearing Cersei. I made a comment about it actually on social media. She was wearing Cersei's short wig and costume, and I was like, oh my god, how is it that she looks way better than because I don't that wig on the show? I hate it. It looks so bad. There's been a lot of jokes about that, but she never grew it out. But I think she's supposed to look like Tommen or like Joffrey or like her, she's supposed to kind of, taking on the masculine thing.
Right.
So now the only thing I didn't have, I know there's your family.
Yep, there's hubby and my
Oh,
that's
sorry,
it.
go ahead. Yeah. How old is your son?
He's 5.
Oh, how old is he now?
He'll be turning 6 in August.
Oh my gosh. Is he your only son?
This is my stepson technically. That's my husband's son from a previous marriage. I have a
Okay.
daughter who's 20.
Really?
Mhm.
And is she into cosplaying? Into
Oh,
costuming?
yeah. In fact, one of the first conventions I ever went to, I took her to a convention called Youmacon, which is an anime convention, because she was really into anime when she was younger. And I took her to one of those, made a costume for her and made a costume for myself. And that was one of the first conventions I ever went to.
Pastel Pomeranian says baby predator.
Yeah.
Any plans?
Oh, yes, definitely.
That would be awesome.
Yep.
Yes, they've had babies. Well, anyways, like I'm probably gonna let you go because it's like almost 10 o'clock. And I don't know, but well, you're in the same time zone for me. Do you have to work tomorrow?
I do, but it's no problem. We're having fun as long
This
as
has been so great. Like I've just had we'll have to have you back on.
okay.
Will you come back? Like seriously, will you? I
Yeah,
haven't scared you off.
yeah, of course. Oh, I wanted to show everyone if I can
Yeah,
before
here, let me just go back to here. I'll go back to the camera and then you can
I
show what
bragged
you can
about
show.
this, but I wanted to show it. This is the picture that Sam autographed for me.
That's amazing. Hurry, I won't talk and then you can show it.
So that's his. Um, when I sent the Sporran to him, my friend printed out this picture of me and sent it to him. And she said that she told him several times that my name was Kristen and not Kirsten. He wrote Kirsten anyway, but I don't. He can call me whatever he wants. I don't care. But
he's he's all of our what do they call him? He's our TV husband.
Yeah, it's totally fine. I don't care what he calls me. But it was so nice for him to do that. He was concerned because the ink smeared a little bit when he wrote it.
Aw,
I don't care. It's fine.
that's so nice.
So, but that was my proof that I did that.
Totally. So hopefully we'll hear back from Katrina that she got your apothecary belt or the apothecary bag. See, my brain's starting to go. My brain's starting to go. So this is what happens to me because I'm a mom too. So this is what happens to us moms.
Here's that you were talking earlier. There's my new Sporran.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's beautiful. Yeah, because that one you did do the engraving on.
And this has also got some, see if I can get it close enough. I've got some tooling around the edge there. Not easy to see in my library. It's quite dark here. And then I've hand stitched the entire thing. So
it's just beautiful. Well, what I'm going to do is, okay, so everybody, I've got your Facebook page link in the description below. So if anybody wants to look at your items, like if anybody wants to get one of your belts or one of your Sporrans, and then I thought there was something else. Somebody else had said here. Oh, damn. You must have looked so fierce. Oh, I'm not sure what's going on. Was it season 7? Oh, I think Tatiana's talking about something.
Oh, I missed it.
Yeah. Cindy, Mad the DJ says, never been to a Renaissance fair, but if I went, I'd go as a Star Trek character, as if I was back in time. That's pretty cool.
I've seen that before at our Ren Fair. There's been people there because our Ren Fair is open on Labor Day.
Yes.
The Monday, and normally they're not open on Mondays. They call that the day of wrong. And so basically anything goes those days, and you will see people wearing all sorts of different costumes.
Eric Park says, are you coming to Seoul Comic-Con? Is that in like Seoul, Korea? Is that what he means?
I don't know.
Eric?
Yeah, I probably won't be able to make
Not that far. And Aaron, Tatiana and Aaron, I'm so glad that they met because they're two of my oldest viewers. So we're definitely gonna have to have you back on. But I was gonna say we should try and have Natasha on too with you. That would be good. Sorry, go ahead.
I think she would. I think she would be interested.
Yeah, that would be so much fun because she's I know she's done also she doesn't just do Outlander, she does other characters as well, and it would just be so much fun to have you both on. But we could have you on and then have her on again with you.
She loves things like she loves Game of Thrones too, and she loves like basically all the same things we do. So
yeah, so it would work out really well. Okay, so I'm just gonna say, so do you want to tell me about anything else about your business or anything else you want to share before we head out?
Anyone who's interested in any sort of, like if you're into Outlander costuming or whatever, find the Outlander Inspired Costumes Facebook group. Heidi will probably put a link there because she's a member there too. If you're interested in the Star Wars stuff, or if you're interested in Rey, I know Aaron mentioned he wanted to do a dark Rey costume. Come join the group. It's a Rey cosplay community Facebook group, and we take all sorts of Reys. It doesn't matter the gender. It doesn't matter if it's a dark Rey. It doesn't matter. You're welcome. And any other kind of costuming that you want to do, like Heidi said, there's a group for you. So go find a group and get in it. And you know, if you're thinking about doing it, you should do it.
Yeah, it's so much fun. And the one thing that's great about the groups, well, again, like, very non-judgmental, but it's a great resource to find out where you can buy materials, where you can get patterns like you've mentioned here, resources, also just helping you, sometimes they know like what a cheaper place to go. Like some people will be like, oh my God, I don't want to spend like $100 a yard on tartan fabric. Where can I go? And then, like you say, we've got like Jennifer who will sell it to you. We just need a certain yardage in order to do it. But if there's enough demand, like I know I saw the other day, they were doing another run. So she's just doing a shout out. Hey, who's interested in this? I'm going to probably do another run. Just need a small deposit, and then we'll go from there. So it's a really great way to and get support too. Like you can even post stuff and just get some feedback. Like I'm having an issue with, I saw someone the other day. I felt so bad for her. I guess she had sewn a bodice together, and it kind of, it didn't work out too well. And it was just sorry, what was that?
We've all been there before.
We've all been there. We've all had that experience. And just, sometimes you just need someone to talk to about it and just vent. So it's just a really wonderful way to get involved in the community and it's just a fabulous pastime. And something, what I love is I have a lot of the viewers who are into cosplay. It's a family affair a lot of the time, like you.
Yeah.
So the kids are into it. Mom and dad are into it. And then sometimes, it can pass on generations. So it's sort of just a wonderful pastime, I think. So I just want to thank you so much for coming on. Guys, I just want to let you know that on Saturday, I'm going to have another live stream. It's going to be just sort of an open one, but I was originally going to show some of Tatiana's artwork and then Aaron's artwork, but Tatiana has to work. So I'm just going to show Aaron, and I might show a few other viewers artwork, and then we'll just sort of talk. If you guys have any questions, we can talk about Westworld, or we can talk about the new Marvel movie that just came out, or whatever we can do. And the other thing, just one more thing, I have a Black Panther video that just came out, just part 1. So if you guys want to check that out. And then I also did an interview. This was a really wonderful experience for me. I got to interview the costume designer for Black Panther. So that's also on my channel. It was just a phone interview, so with slides. So it's not a full video. But anyway, if you guys want to check that out, it's on the channel. So I want to say thank you to everybody. Thank you so much, Erin, Erin is my wonderful mod, and also 30-day reviews, who stuck around again. Thanks so much, you guys. They don't get paid or anything. they just do it out of the goodness of their hearts. It's very lovely. And Kristen, so I'm going to get all those. Maybe I'll just go to the Facebook page and get all the links, and then I can put that in the description. If anybody's wondering where to get the tartan or all that stuff. And then if you guys have any questions for Kristen, you can even just leave them in the comments section if we miss something, and she can look at it, and we can answer them somehow. We'll work it out.
Yep.
Does that sound good?
On Facebook too, if you want to, and you can message me anytime. I'm always happy to answer questions.
Oh yeah. So her link is below. So you can you can just probably leave a message either in the Outlander group, or if you join it, or you can leave a message for her. Yeah, she's very approachable. I can vouch for that. You've answered all my questions, even the nutty ones. Well, thanks so much, Kristen.
Thank you.
Okay. So I'll talk to you guys later. I'll see you later.
Bye.